The Russo-Japanese War was not merely a conflict between two countries. It marked the first time a belief that had existed for centuries was shattered. An Asian nation fought against a European power and did not step back. While it is difficult to say that Russia suffered a definitive defeat on the battlefield, it is clear that the war tore the empire apart from within. After this conflict, Japan became a power the world could no longer ignore. Despite economic hardship and heavy costs, its place on the stage of history had permanently changed. In this story, we will not talk about treaties, diplomatic agreements, or the causes of the war. The real question is this: how did the massive empire of the West collapse in the face of a powerful Eastern force? To answer this question, we must examine the military structures that existed before the war. Leadership, as always, is where everything begins. Leadership. On the Russian side, things did not start well. Admiral Wilhelm Wittgeft was placed in command. He was not a bad commander, but he hesitated. He struggled with decision-making and missed opportunities. He failed to take an action that could have changed the course of the war and was killed at the Battle of the Yellow Sea. After his death, Russia was left with only Vice Admiral Zinovy Rozhestvensky. However, Rozhestvensky was a commander even his own soldiers did not trust. His nickname, Mad Dog, says a great deal. This reputation was not earned without reason. In the North Sea, he opened fire on British ships he mistook for Japanese fishing vessels, nearly dragging Britain into the war. Because of this mistake, the Russian fleet lost access to the Suez Canal. Russia had begun harming itself before the war had truly begun. On land, the picture was no different. General Alexei Kuropatkin was overly cautious. He repeatedly withdrew, relied on defensive positions, and was defeated at Mukden and Liaoyang. Anatoly Stessel, on the other hand, was stationed at Port Arthur. He was the complete opposite of Kuropatkin, harsh, determined, and defiant of orders. He was instructed many times to abandon the city, but he chose to resist. Port Arthur fell. The Japanese, however, were in a completely different position. Togo Heihachiro commanded the naval effort. He is often referred to as Japan's Horatio Nelson. This was not only because of his courage, but because he had received modern naval training in England and was able to apply that knowledge flawlessly in real combat. There was also Nogi Maresuke. He was extremely popular in Japan. He fought like a traditional samurai who placed honor above all else. His courage was inspiring but costly. During the siege of Port Arthur, Japanese soldiers suffered significant casualties. Then there was Oyama Iwao's, quiet, meticulous, and experienced. He had observed major wars around the world, and in particular drew important lessons from the Franco-Prussian War. He went on to win one of the most critical battles of the Russo-Japanese War. It was clear which side held the advantage in leadership. Drill, tactics, and mindset. After the Crimean War, Russia attempted to modernize its army. Reforms were introduced, service time was reduced, and the budget was cut. On paper, it made sense. In reality, the army grew weaker. Soldiers were still trained in the outdated volley fire technique, firing simultaneously as a unit. It was slow, ineffective, and deadly for the wrong reasons. British General Sir Ian Hamilton summarized the situation as follows: "If a soldier does not know where his bullet is going, there's no difference between firing a blank cartridge and a real one." Japanese soldiers, by contrast, relied on individual marksmanship and knew their targets. Japan changed rapidly and decisively. In 1853, its doors were forced open, and in 1868, the shogunate was overthrown. The Meiji era had begun. The army was completely rebuilt, Western officers were brought in, and conscription and discipline increased rapidly. Russia possessed far greater resources than Japan. However, this conflict required strategy and timing more than sheer numbers. Japan moved quickly. Russia remained trapped behind the vastness of Siberia. The outcome of the war. The war began on February 8, 1904, with a surprise attack at Port Arthur. Yalu, Nanshan, Liaoyang, Shaho, and Mukden followed. Each time Russia was forced to retreat a little further. Then came Tsushima. In May 1905, the Russian fleet was almost completely destroyed by the Japanese Navy. This was not merely a naval victory. It marked the end of an era. When the Treaty of Portsmouth was signed in September, Russia left the table exhausted and weakened. Japan, meanwhile, had firmly entered the global arena. Winning this war required time, discipline, and leadership. Thank you for your time, and see you in next time.